Good day, students. Today, I welcome you to another discussion for this subject, Construction Materials and Testing, under Week 1 and Lesson 1. Today, we are going to talk about the introduction to construction materials and testing. So first, construction materials is any material that is used for construction. And the success of a construction project also lies on the materials used, especially when the materials are tested against time. And the durability of the materials is one of the relevant factors to be considered in the subject construction materials and testing, and also in general no, in testing of construction materials. So there are two types, no, or two classification of construction materials. The ones that were manufactured and those that were considered as naturally occurring materials. So when you say manufactured products, those include the cement, the rebars, the pipes, the tiles, the ceramics, the glass, the paints, and etc. And if you say naturally occurring materials, those include the stones, timber, sand, rock, soil, and the like. So materials testing is performed for a variety of reasons and can provide a wealth of information about the tested materials, prototypes, or product samples. The data collected during testing and the final test results can be very useful to engineers, designers, production managers, and others. So basically, results from those tests that we conduct on various construction materials can go a very long way from the design phase up to the implementation or the construction phase of a project. So by the way, why do we need to conduct material testing? Okay, so here are the some of the few reasons, why it is very important to really conduct material testing or to conduct quality tests on those materials being incorporated into the work. First is that we need to meet requirements of regulatory agencies. Okay, one example of this is for those projects being implemented by the government through its engineering arm, which is the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. So DPWH have these standards when it comes to materials and also item of works being done or being constructed, no, or being implemented in the project, to be specific. So there are kining mga standard set forth, no, nga kailangan na siya i-meet and kailangan siya ma-satisfy. So for DPWH to be able to control, no, the quality of work, mo na siya nga ipamaagi na siya nga to do the material testing, no, kay from those result dayon siya man ang mo-attest, no, sa quality sa work or quality sa material nga gi-incorporate sa work. Okay, mao na siya. Second reason is that selecting appropriate materials and treatments for an application. One example is this: you might have manggod two or more sources of a specific material, say for example aggregates, no? For you to be able to search or to choose just one source or one or two sources, no, from those many sources that you have, you need to do testing, no, in all of those sources that imuhang mga possible nga mga sources. So from those, for say for example, you have 10 sources. So for you to be able to choose one or two sources only, no, because you cannot have 10 sources at the same time. So for you to be able to select those best and appropriate materials, no, sa imuhang work, you need to test all of them, and then from the test result you'll be able to know nga which one is good, is of good quality, and which does not meet the standard quality. No, it is through material testing that we can decide, no, which appropriate materials we can incorporate to the work. Okay, third reason is that we evaluate the product design or improvement specification. And fourth is verifying a production process. Now we talk about the different factors now determining the choice of proper material for a structure. So these are the factors that we need to do testing on, no, as we choose for an appropriate material to be incorporated into the work. So, kani siya, muna siya ang mga guides, no, or mga parameters nga kung unsa ato ang i-evaluate through material testing. Okay? So, first factor is, of course, the strength and rigidity and durability requirements, no? Because naman gyud siya in a certain material na ay mga requirements in terms of strength, rigidity, and durability. So when we say strength, rigidity, and durability requirements, na diha ang for permanent loading, or which corresponds to the creep strength. So creep strength is defined as the maximum stress endured by a material for a specific period of time without extreme deformation. So, mo na siya. It is through permanent loading. No, ang kaning permanent loading is one method in materials testing. No, na ay specific test ana that really mimics no the permanent loading, and then diha nimo ma-evaluate ang creep strength sa imuhang material. Okay? Next factor is the fatigue strength. Now, so for you to be able to do that, for you to be able to determine that one, you need to i-undergo nimo ang imong material through repeated loading, no? Natin mga tests under those kind of mga standard tests that mimics repeated loading that would really evaluate or kanang ma-verify nato, no, ang fatigue strength sa isa ka material, no? So, fatigue strength is defined as the highest stress that a material can withstand for a given number of cycles without breaking. Okay? So, next is the toughness and resilience of a material, no? So, how do we evaluate that one? We do impact loading. Okay? We do impact loading. So, nagihapoy mga standard tests that do impact loading to a material for us to be able to determine, no, or to evaluate the toughness and resilience of a certain material. Okay? So, toughness is defined as the property due to which the material can withstand impact loading without fracture. And at the same time, resilience is defined as the property due to which a material can store energy without having permanent deformation. Okay? Still under na siya strength, rigidity, and durability requirements. Now, next factor is the hardness and resistance to abrasion. So, how do we know that? How do we evaluate that one, no? How do we evaluate that factor or parameter in the material? So, we do surface loading. So, naay mga tests, again, no, nga mga standard tests nga nagabuhat o surface loading to a certain material. Okay? So, from that, through surface loading, ma-determine nato, ma-evaluate nato ang hardness o ang resistance to abrasion of a certain material. Okay? So, hardness is defined as, or hardness is measured by poking a point into the test material and measuring a depth of penetration. And abrasion resistance is measured by rubbing something against the test material and measuring how much material is removed. No? So, kibali, so from that, no, we were given a short idea of what surface loading is all about, no, kung what type of process is surface loading. So, mato siya for us to be able to determine and evaluate, no, the hardness and resistance to abrasion of a certain material. So aside from the factors nga durability, rigidity, and strength requirements, no, one also factor that determines our choice, no, of proper material for incorporation into the work is the environmental requirements. Okay, so under environmental requirements, we have the coefficient of thermal conductivity. Okay, so the thermal conductivity of a material is a measure of its ability to conduct heat. So for us to be able to determine, no, this coefficient of thermal conductivity, we need to do or kailangan na to i-undergo ato ang material, no, through temperature changes. Okay, so naapod tayo mga standard ng mga tests that do temperature changes on a certain material, no. So next is the next factor, no, still under the environmental requirements is the permeability. Okay, so permeability is defined as the volume of a fluid of unit viscosity passing through a unit cross-section of the medium in unit time under the action of a unit pressure gradient. Okay, so for us to be able to determine the permeability factor or permeability behavior of our material, no, na ito ang gamiton sa work, we do moisture movement. Okay? We do manipulation on the moisture of a certain material. So, nagihapoy mga standard tests, ana, no, nga mag-manipulate sa moisture sa imuhang material po, no, para mabalaan nato ang permeability, no, permeability ng behavior sa imuhang material. So next factor, no, under environmental requirement is of course the chemical composition. Okay, your chemical composition sa imuhang material. Okay, it includes chemical reaction, which is a process in which one or more substances, the reactants, are converted not to one or more different substances or products. Okay, so for us to be able, no, to determine and evaluate the chemical composition of a certain material, we need to conduct tests also, no, to verify the chemical effects of a certain material. So from those chemical effects, we'll be able to draw, you will be able to evaluate, no, and determine the composition of a certain material. Okay. So third factor, no, aside from that environmental requirements and also the strength, durability, and rigidity requirements, no, one factor also in determining our choice of proper material, no, or appropriate material to be incorporated into the work is the economy. Okay, so we choose those materials that as per design, no, based on design, so we choose materials, and then of course we don't only choose those materials, but also we choose those materials that are kining at a reasonable price, no, that suits our budget as well. Okay, so there are a few things that we consider, no, in choosing cheaper and available materials for the work, no? So first thing that we consider is of course the initial cost. Second is the useful life, and also the frequency of maintenance, and that's knowing, no, how often does this certain material require maintenance, and also the together with that the cost, no, that it incurs, and also the salvage value, and lastly the comfortability. So there are two classifications of civil engineering materials. First is we classify those materials according to their phases, and then we also classify those civil engineering materials according to their internal structure and chemical composition. So first, we talk about the classification according to their phases. So first, we have the gases, no, which includes air, the oxygen, and then the CO2. Okay, and we also have liquids, which are water and chemical admixtures. So we also have the semi-solids, now, which includes the fresh pastes, mortars, and asphalt. So those are what we consider semi-solids. No? And we also have metals, so that includes all types of metals. So there are two types of metals, the ferrous and the non-ferrous. So for ferrous, we have there the iron, the cast iron, and the steel, no? And for non-ferrous, we have aluminum, the copper, the zinc, and lead, no? And all others. So next classification is also according, no, to their internal structure and chemical composition. So ang katong previously is ano to siya, classification according to the phase to their phases, no. Now second classification is according to their internal structure or chemical composition. Okay, so first we have the polymers. Okay, so polymers are long chains having molecules of CHON, which are formed by covalent bonding. The chains are bound to each other either by covalent bonds or van der Waals forces. Okay, so for polymers, we have natural polymers and artificial polymers. And for natural polymers, we have there the rubber, the asphalt, the resins, and also the woods, no? Muna siyang mga natural polymers. And if we talk about artificial polymers, so all kinds of plastic, no? Muna siya ang artificial polymers. So next is we also have ceramics, no? Mainly aluminosilicates formed by mixed bonding or covalent and ionic. So we have also kining mga clay, no, mga products and porcelains, no, for ceramics. Okay. Next is those composite materials that we consider it's either natural or artificial. For natural na composite materials, we have there the agglomerates. And for the artificial na composite materials, we have there the Portland cement or even the concrete. No? So, mga sila itong consider as artificial composite materials. Now, next is we also have reinforced composite material. Okay, we have there under that is the reinforced concrete and also the reinforced plastics. Okay, so after having discussed the classification of materials, it could either be according to their phases or it could either be according to their chemical composition or material composition, and also na-discuss na nato ang katong mga factors no nga mag determine sa ato ang choice of appropriate materials no na dito ang strength, durability and rigidity requirements na po yung mga factors that were under those no, and also the environmental requirements and as well as the economical nga requirements no. So how do we determine those properties of civil engineering materials? So there are two ways no in determining properties of civil engineering materials. So we have their laboratory testing rather and field testing. So if we say testing, no, it could mean two things. It could either be laboratory testing or field testing. And as we do testing, no, both for laboratory and field testing, natin ginasunod nga mga standard or from those standardized nga mga institutes, no, ga-follow ta na siya as to the material requirements, equipment requirements, no, and also the step-by-step procedure on how to properly do a certain test or laboratory test or field test natin mga ginabasihan. And here are some of the list, no, lima ni siya kabuok. So that includes the ASTM, no, sa US ni sila nga mga institutes na atay ASTM, AASHTO, and ACI, no, the American Society for Testing Materials, ASTM, and also the American Association of State Highways and Transportation Officials, or AASHTO, and the American Concrete Institute, or the ACI. And for Turkey, na country, no, we have the Turkish Standard Institute, or the TSE, and we also have sa kanang based sa Europe no nga mga institute, we have the CEN or the European Committee for Standardization. And for Germany no, they use the DIN or the Deutsche Institute norm, and we also have for England no, they use the BSI or the British Standard Institute no. So from the US, so from all of these kining countries, what we usually use is the kaning sa based sa US nga mga institute no, especially the ASTM and the AASHTO. Okay, but also we can also refer no sa other mga institutes as well, but usually ang nakabutan gid sa tang mga publications is kanang based sa ASTM na ashto, especially kanang the DPWH nga standard specification no, based na siya sa kaning ASTM and ashto. Okay. So here are some of the list no, of the accredited testing laboratories by DPWH Regional Office 10. No? So nanad siya diha ang Universal Multi-Testing Solutions, UKC Builders, the Test Lab, the Mega Testing, and the LYL Development Corporation. So mo ni siya no, ang mga laboratory test, mga laboratory test site no, nga conduct siya og kanang material testing. No, kay di man gid siya pwede na kanang basta-basta lang ka mag-put up og testing laboratories. You have to make that accredited also, no, apply kag accreditation sa DPWH. So mo siya no, few list lang siya, 5 sa katong mga accredited nga mga testing laboratories, especially ni siya di sa Cagayan de Oro. Okay? So, mo ni siya no ang mga references that we have used in making this lecture notes and as also the this discussion. So, if you have any more questions, concerns, and clarifications with regards to this lesson 1, no, the introduction to construction materials and testing, you may address that no later sa ato ang synchronous class. That will be all, and you may enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much.